Hello, everybody. You're tuning into DeMarco and Leone doing sports talk. Today it's only me, Mike, your host, and let's get started. A little overview of our show is we're going to talk about March Madness and that whole debacle and how everyone's bracket is basically destroyed. Then we're going to talk about the predictions of who's going to win the next games in March Madness in the Final Four. Then we're going to talk about our Rangers, and then we're also going to talk about the World Cup qualifiers that just happened. So, like always, if you guys are interested, please have any questions, please put in the chat, and here we go. So, just a little overview of the sports in the metro area. So, in the tri-state area. So the New York Rangers are 44, 19, and 5. They're second in the Metro Division. The New York Islanders are fifth. They are 30, 27, and 9, fifth in the Metro Division. The New Jersey Devils are 24, 38, and 5, eighth in the Metro Division. And the New York Knicks are 34 and 43, 11th in the Eastern Conference. And the Brooklyn Nets are 40 and 36, eighth in the Eastern Conference. So let's get right into it. So we all know there was a huge similar story about St. Peter's and how well they're represented in the MAC right now, which is great. It's kind of a bittersweet situation because, yes, St. Pete is part of the MAC and they're representing the MAC very well, but it's not Iona. So it's kind of like, okay, that's good, but like, stop going further. We want to do that. But that's great for them. Right now, the head coach of St. Peter's is going to be next year the new head coach of Seton Hall. That's his alma mater. He went to Seton Hall when he was in school, and so just a recap of that game. I ended up watching that game, and I honestly knew right as the game went on, or like the game started, that St. Pete wasn't going to win. Um, and literally in the first 10 minutes, um, the Tar Heels went to a 9-0 run. You could tell that they were a lot stronger, they were a lot bigger, they had a lot more agility, which makes sense. They're a more developed team. Obviously, they've made it to well now that they're in the Final Four, they made it to this is their 21st appearance in the Final Four, which is most in NCAA history. Um, so obviously the game didn't end up very well for St. Peter's. So the comparisons for both teams. So the field goals, St. Pete was 18 and 60, which is 30%, and Tar Heels were 25 and 61, which is 41%. 3-pointers, St. Pete was 4 and 16, 25%, and the Tar Heels were 6 and 22, which is 27%. Free throws, the St. Pete, which is actually really good at doing free throws. They were 9 and 10, 90%, and the Tar Heels were 13 and 21, which is 61%. The total rebounds were 33 for St. Pete and 49 for North Carolina. And it's funny because the turnovers weren't as much as I thought. They were pretty similar. St. Pete had 7 turnovers, and the Tar Heels had 8 turnovers. Just in the numbers, it seemed like it was a pretty close game. Obviously, having only 18 out of the 60 field goals that they did obviously didn't help them. Obviously, like I said, they were going 9-0 run. So it really doesn't help when you are basically not scoring and the other team is basically scoring you all the time, which obviously does not help with your confidence in the team. But obviously the St. Peter's head coach tried to do everything that he could. Obviously, it's hard when you are a smaller team compared to North Carolina that has a really big team. So I see there's questions in the chat, so let's get into it. With the coach of St. Peter's leaving, what do you think will happen to St. Peter's? So off of that question, I think that now that the St. Peter's coach is leaving, I think the St. Peter's is not gonna do as well That's just my opinion. But at the same time, they still have, let's say, the same players. I don't know how many graduate students or how many students are going to graduate from that squad. Um, so they might do. They're probably not as good as this year. But they're probably one of the contenders for to win the MAC as well. Like every single year they are. Um, and also with that aspect, I don't know who's going to be the next head coach for St. Peter's. It's probably going to obviously be a really good head coach, but like everything else, is getting used to the system of how that coach coaches and what are the formations that he wants the players to do. It's just a learning curve that they need to go through. So the next question. So who will be the coach for St. Peter's now? I honestly don't know, to be honest. There's a lot of coaches that have a really good resume and that can definitely coach for St. Peter's right now. I honestly don't have, let's say, that information. I honestly don't know. It could be either a former player that went to St. Peter's. That usually happens. Or probably like how Iona has a Hall of Fame coach that could probably get someone of that same stature. So, will Iona get any of the St. Peter's players? Um, Maybe. It depends on how many players are on the transfer portal right now for St. Peter's. I don't know if there's any or not. Um, but it would be really good for Iona to bring in some people because we really, since we lost three of our graduate students. So and then were the main ones. So the players that we lost was Dylan Van Eyck, Elijah Joyner, and Tyson Jolly, and they were our three big scorers. So and now all of our other players need to step up, like Nelly, and then now I don't know if you guys heard on Iona's Instagram, but Parker Weiss is named the captain of Iona basketball now, so he has to step up as well. Um, and and I think that, and also the recruitment as well that Coach Pitino is going to do. I think that's going to help us as well. And continuing, and since this is the third year, I think everyone's going to know how he coaches and the system that he wants the players to do. So I think we will win the MAC this coming up year. Um, Considering that Ricky Pitino is currently recruiting, he will be able to get local players like St. Peter's. Um, yes, I would say he would mainly, well, the two things that I know that he likes to do is that A, obviously he wants to get local talent, and then B, he likes getting players overseas, mainly Africa, because that's mainly where a lot of good players come from, and that's where we got Nelly. He was at the NBA Academy at Nigeria, or it's not it's some academy in Africa, and since Rick Pitino has connections, he asked one of his former coworkers and asked if he knew anyone that was willing to go to the States and play for a basketball team, and that's how we got Nelly Jr. Joseph. So, what did St. Peter's have to go? Wait, what did St. Peter's have to go that far in the NCAA that Iona did not have? Oh, okay. So I think it was the confidence in each other and the ability to get rebounds and also shoot free throws. I don't know if you saw in the past stats or heard in the past stats, but in this last game, they had St. Pete had 10 free throws and they made 9 of them. So that's 90% of free throw. And our game against UF, we shot 50% for the free throw line. So that's a completely different let's say attribute that we really need to fix as well. Um because if you're shooting 50 from the free throw line, you're basically getting one out of the two that you're gonna get. And those let's say if you have a 10 free throw points that you can get, if you only get 5, that's a huge difference. Let's see. The next question is what about getting players from Greece? Pitino's a national head coach for Greece. Yes, he is a national head coach for Greece. I honestly think that's a good idea as well, since he has a connection. He knows people around in Greece, so I think that's a good idea to get players from Greece as well, and the connections that he has as well from being the head coach of Greece. So let's continue with the next topic, but it's kind of the same. So, as you guys know, the final four is here. It's going to be against Duke versus North Carolina and Villanova against Kansas. So, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time that all four teams have a shade of blue, which is the calling it the blue blood, which is really funny. So and like I said before, the team that has the most experience in the Final Four is North Carolina. They have 21 total Final Four appearances, which is outstanding. That's a great organization that they have over in North Carolina, which is great. And surprisingly, they're the only team that is outside the number 1 and 2 seed, which is really good for their organization. Obviously, they're a powerhouse in their division. So, and at the same time, Duke this year is the last year for Coach K to coach, and we will see if Coach K will have an early retirement when they play St. Peter's or when they play Duke. Um, so a little predictions on, let's say, the games. So between Villanova, which is the second seed, and Kansas, which is the first seed, and a little side note, Kansas is the only number 1 seed left in the NCAA the March Madness. So that basically shows you how tough it is to win games in March Madness. Like I said in the last show, any team can beat any other team in any given day, no matter what seed you are. So, and like a St. Peter's, exactly. So it's great that Kansas is in to represent the number 1 seed. So the spread between Villanova and Kansas. Kansas is negative 4.5 and over under is 132.5. So that basically shows that Kansas has let's say a head above Villanova. Um, I watched both of their games, Villanova and Kansas. I would say Villanova is a really good defensive team. Um, they do get a lot of offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. But also Kansas has a really good big man in the center, so it's going to be very hard to see, and it's going to be a really good game between those two. So I know they will not disappoint, and I think it will be back and forth in that game. So um, so we will see what that turn out. And so between UNC and Duke, so Duke is -4 on the spread. Over under is 151. So um I would agree with that stats, to be honest. So I want Duke to win. That's just my personal opinion. Some of my other friends want UNC to win, but just because this is Coach K's last season, so I want him to finish off with on a good note. So, and we have some questions. Let's see. Um, what will be the key to the Final Four games? Um, so so the key to the Final Four games is basically, I would say, one, not doing silly turnovers. That was one thing that I saw about Villanova, that they did turn over the ball a lot. And also getting offensive rebounds. If you get offensive rebounds, you will, let's say the team that gets offensive rebounds will have a better time winning. So I think that's like two big factors in winning a Final Four. So that's just my thinking, and also having confidence in your team. Obviously, we have all of these teams have confidence in their team, but also they need to see out the finish line. They can't end before they get to the finish line. So the next question is, how did you predict that Mm. Oh, who did you predict that will win the SCAA? So my brackets is already what's it called? It's done. So I predicted Arizona was gonna win. Um, it was getting the final was gonna be Gonzaga and Arizona. They were the two number one seeds, but Arizona lost to I want to say Houston and Gonzaga. I forget who Gonzaga lost to, but yeah, my prediction was Arizona because Arizona did was a really good team coming in. They were the number one seed in their conference. So that was my prediction, and obviously everyone else's prediction was different. But now that let's say St. Peter's went out to the Elite Eight, obviously everyone's bracket was done after that. So um, but so let's continue on to the next topic. So I know since Chris is not here, we're really not going to talk about the Islanders, so we're going to mainly focus on the Rangers. So yesterday, the Rangers beat the Detroit. What was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or 2 days ago, but the Rangers beat the Detroit Red Wings 5-4 in overtime, which thank God, because how can we go on overtime with a team that is pretty low in the standings and we beat the Penguins, which is one of our rivals in our conference that is a point away from us. So the goals were from Ryan Reeves, Phil Hudel, Artemi Panarin, Chris Kreider, and in overtime, Andrew Cup. So based off of that, I could see that um the free agent signings that we got were really good for us because there were I think two attacking and then one defending players. So which is really good for us because we did need, let's say, that attacking force because like we said a couple Chris and I said a couple shows before, if a team can slow down Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider, they'll be able to win the game. And let's say our defense is pretty good, but it's not as good as our offense. So if they can lock down those three players, then there's no way that the Rangers can win. But I'm glad that we got new offensive players because those three players can only play so much. So it's just the rotation that really helps. So um, so let's continue on. So just a little, let's say, description of the game. The game was pretty sloppy, I would say. The Rangers turned the puck over a lot, and they had a lot of problems defending. Um, they really didn't communicate as well. I thought that they played a lot better against the Penguins. Obviously, it seems like we play better against better teams, but that's just me. It's kind of like the thing where it's the adrenaline and all the passion towards that game, so it kind of makes sense. They thought this game was going to be an easy game, so it turns out it wasn't. So, and we were basically coming from behind the whole game except in the first 5 minutes of the first half where we scored first. So we were always trailing behind the Red Wings. So we thankfully we were able to come back and win in overtime. But if we weren't able to score, let's say in the next periods, then we weren't able to win at all. I could say that. In net, there was Georgiev. He went for 22 and 26 with a save percentage of 0.846, which is actually really bad. um, he. It's funny because obviously since he's the backup, he doesn't really play a lot, but the times that he plays is really important for us because Igor can't play all the games. It gets after what because the thing is there's 82 games in an NFL or NHL season, which is a lot, and they usually play like 3 times a week or sometimes back-to-back games, right? So it's very difficult for Igor to play a most of the games. So that's why we need Georgiev to step up, even though, yes, he's not getting a lot of playtime. But those games that he plays are very crucial for us because it's definitely gonna hurt our average and our position into the playoffs. As of right now, we're second, which is good. We are a point ahead of the Penguins. Um, which I'm glad that we won against them. If we do play them in the playoffs, I have more confidence that we'll beat them because the last 2 times that we met, we beat them, which is good. Once at, the Garden and one in, Pittsburgh, so I can definitely say that we have more confidence against playing with them against them, so, that's just my prediction. Um, so but it seems like every single time we scored, let's say to catch up, the Red Wings would keep pulling ahead and not being and we were, like, trailing always behind, so it was a frustrating moment, I would say, but it's so I could definitely see how the Rangers feel about Georgiev, how let's say he's obviously not as good as Igor, but you gotta also know that he's not really playing a lot, so it's one of those things he's coming in cold. So, it's gonna take me a little bit to get used to it, but he played a full game. He made 22 saves, which is not bad, but, um, his save percentage wasn't great, but we at least we got the win, which is good. So, but there's a couple questions. Um, who will make the playoffs? So as of right now, it's gonna be, in our division, it's gonna be Carolina, us, the Rangers, um Pittsburgh, and what was it? Um, the Capitals, I think. Those are the 4 that I think are gonna make it through, in the Metro division. Um, it's gonna be interesting because what was it? A couple years ago, which I think it was what 2019 when the Rangers last made it to the playoffs. Um, we lost in the first round, which kind of sucks. But hopefully this year seems like we got a lot better. We got a little more confidence in ourselves. We have a better attack, a better defense. Our goalie is really good, Igor. So since it is a series, it would help us to say even if we lose one game, we can still come back from it. But it's going to be 10 times harder though to catch up because the other team's going to have the momentum. So hopefully, whoever we play, we can play well against them, and let's say hopefully the Rangers can win the Stanley Cup. That's my hope, but we will see what happens. Um, will the Rangers go to the Stanley Cup? So based off of their, let's say, record and how they're playing, I think they will. But also, you got to remember there's also the Avalanche, which are the best team in the NHL right now. So they're predicted to win the NHL, the Stanley Cup. So it's it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. To be honest, um, because we do have to play against the Penguins, and all the teams that are in the playoffs are all going to be really good teams. It's not like it's going to be like a throwaway game anyway. So it's going to be difficult, but we're up for the challenge. I think Igor and uh, Mika, Panarin, and Kreider are up for the challenge to play against really good teams. So I think we'll be good. I think um, we'll at least pass the first round, I think, um, which I'm really hoping, but we will see. So let's continue on a little bit of MLB news, just a little teaser on that. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Brian Cashman, the general manager of the New York Yankees, kind of I think he holds grudges. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but he went on the news the other day and he was basically complaining that the about the scandal, which we all know about the Houston Astros about cheating when we played them. Um and there was a news that we haven't what was it? We haven't won the World Series since 2009, which statistically it is the longest drought that we've ever had since the 80s. Um, which is a huge drought, honestly. I know the Yankees are really good, so I know they could. But okay. So they are good, but they aren't showing that they're good, especially in this offseason. They really didn't sign anyone, so it's gonna be difficult for us to go even to the World Series. So basically Brian Cashman was like, okay, that's false. We would have made it to the World Series if the Houston Astros didn't cheat. So you can take it how you want it. The game's a game. Obviously, you can't really change the past. Um, obviously, it's annoying that we lost to the Houston Astros, even though they did cheat, and there was, let's say, proof that they did cheat. Um, but what are you gonna do? You can't really go back and be like, okay, no, the Yankees won because that's not true. So, um, but I can definitely understand his frustration, Brian Cashman's frustration, um, and it's obviously annoying as a Yankees fan myself. I would like to see the Yankees win a World Series. Um, let's say not in my lifetime because they did win in my lifetime, but when I'm older, I was 9 when they won the World Series. Last time they won the World Series, so I would like to see them at least in the finals when I get older, or let's say in the next couple of years. Um so the next question, why did the MLB not suspend the Houston players? Um so I think the reason why they didn't suspend the players is because it was just the whole scandal about it. And I think they were just trying to find a lot, like a lot of information based on, let's say, how, like, who cheated and how, let's say, they cheated, which now we know the information. Um, I honestly don't know why they, let's say, suspended them. Let's say, in my opinion, I think they should have, but that's just me. But the MLB does, let's say, the way that the MLB handled it is like a okay, I guess. I don't know. I remember hearing that they were threatening to take away their World Series win. I'm not really sure if they did or not. Um, but um that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I it's just it's annoying because as a sports fan, you obviously don't like when teams cheat because that makes, let's say, there's no point. Obviously every team wants to win the World Series, or let's say any other sport wants to win their championship, but you have to win it fair and square. That's what competition is. Um, you can't, let's say, cheat your way through games. You have to win it by talent and skill. So it just made the game, let's say, not that it was less enjoyable, but it definitely put a sour taste in everyone's mouth when they found out that the Houston Astros did cheat. So but that's just my thinking, honestly. But everyone else has their own opinion on, let's say, that topic. So um, but we will see what happens. So, and one of the biggest, let's say, news that came out recently was the men's US national team. Oh, geez, a huge relief, honestly, because if you guys are soccer fans like myself, um, it was very difficult to hear that the US men's national team was not going to go to the 2018 World Cup in Russia. And that was definitely hard it because we know that we're, let's say, good enough, but the thing is that every, let's say, the qualifiers is very competitive because the US national team has to play against Canada, Mexico, and all Central America and some Caribbean teams. So it's obviously very competitive, but it's say in 2018 specifically, it was of just a very old team. We had um Tim, well, no, not Tim Duncan. Tim Howard as goalkeeper. He was basically already in his late 30s. We had Michael Bradley, and all these, let's say, almost retired soccer players that obviously are really good. They're legends in right now, but they don't have the stamina that they had before. They don't have the same adrenaline, the same power, and anything else. So that's why I'm glad in this new season or this new team that the US has, they're all let's say young kids. I think the youngest one right now is like 18 years old, which is amazing. Um Actually, no, it's 18 or 19. Gio Reyna, he actually plays for Borussia Dortmund in Germany. So, I'm really happy that, they changed the way of thinking, which it was definitely a change, honestly. And also the thing that people don't understand is that, um, soccer is completely different in the way of getting players into the league. So like obviously everyone knows about, let's say, the MLB, the NFL and the NHL about a draft, and everyone goes through college and then gets drafted, right? It's kind of different. Let's say because soccer is a world sport, right? So the US does it following how we do sports, how we do, let's say, football and baseball and hockey, where we do have a super draft. But the thing is that there's a lot of people that have amazing talent that are probably better than the players that we have now in the squad that live in the United States. But the thing is that um to play soccer in this country is very expensive. So yes, there's really good players right now that's on the squad, but just to be able to play, you at least need to pay like $5,000 to be in part of a good club. Yeah, you can play rec, but it won't really help you. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of good players in this country that, let's say, are a lot better. And for example, like I said, in Europe, or soccer is a worldwide sport. So in Europe, for example, soccer is basically a really cheap sport because they know that there's a lot of people that don't have money, but their gateway is playing soccer. And once they since they continue playing soccer, they get better. And let's say a story that I can tell you guys that everyone knows this person is Cristiano Ronaldo. Um he plays for the Portuguese national team. Right now he plays for Manchester United. And when he was younger, he was obviously really poor. His dad was basically going from job to job, and his mom same thing. And his gateway was to play soccer at Sporting Lisbon. So and he went through the academy. So he went through the youth team to, let's say, the semi-pros, and finally made it to the pro team and was able to play with the first team in Sporting Lisbon. And they played a friendly against Manchester United, and that's how he got his name put out there. And now he's one of the best soccer players in the whole world. So it's a completely different mindset in the United States than it is in the rest of the world and how they get players. So that's just my thing about soccer. Um, but continuing on, let's say the World Cup, the United States men's national team haven't made it to the World Cup since the last time they made it to the World Cup was 8 years ago, which was the 2014 World Cup, which was in Brazil. And obviously everyone's super happy. The last qualifier game that the United States played was against Costa Rica, which was it was so it was a bittersweet moment for them because so Costa Rica beat the United States 2-0 at Costa Rica. Um Obviously that's not the result that they wanted, but the good thing is that they did qualify for the World Cup. The only way that the men's national team was not going to qualify is that if Costa Rica beats the men's national team 6-0. So, um, so right now, as it stands, um, in the qualifier bracket, Canada's first with 28 points, Mexico is second with 28 points. The US is third with 25 points, and Costa Rica is fourth with 25 points. Um, the the way it's distributed, let's say, to determine who goes first, second, and third, because Canada, Mexico are tied, and also the U.S. and Costa Rica are tied. It's the goal differential, how many goals they have against each other, and who won, let's say, the games. Um, or it's the goal differential between the teams. So that's why Canada's first, because they have, I think, 21 goals, and then Mexico has 14, or no, like 17. So that's why, let's say, Canada's first, Mexico's second, even though they're tied. So let's just go into the questions. So, when will the World Cup start? So this year, the World Cup is going to be hosted in Qatar. Um, and since Qatar is in the Middle East, um, and it gets really hot in the summer, they decided to switch the World Cup to the winter time. So, um, we're not gonna have the World Cup this summer, but it's gonna be during December time because it's cooler there, during the winter time. So that's what they decided to do. And then, in 2026, I don't know if you guys knew this, but in 2026, the World Cup is going to be in the United States. It's going to be split between three different countries. It's going to be um, the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So um, it's great. I honestly think is a really good thing for all three countries, for them to split, let's say, the payload of the World Cup, because hosting the World Cup is very expensive, because the country needs to follow all the qualifications in the soccer stadiums to host the World Cup. They have to have a certain amount, a number of stands, seats in the stands, the pitch regulations, if it's turf or grass. Well, I think it's like mainly grass. So, and it's like all the other events are happening in the World Cup as well. So it is very expensive for one country to host the World Cup. So that's why they split the load between three countries in 2026. So that's what they decided to do, and my goal is to at least go to one game when the World Cup does come in 2026. So that's just my thing, because since I really enjoy soccer. And just a little fun fact for you guys, Costa or the United States have never beat Costa Rica before. They've tied them once in 1985, but they've lost the rest of the games. So I don't know if it was just a fun fact for you guys. And there was another question. What games do you want to see in 2026? So I have two things on my bucket list for to watch in 2026. Actually, three things. So the first one is to see a US game, no matter who they're playing. The second one is the Mexico game, since I am part Mexican. And then the third thing is, no matter what team is in the final, I want to watch the final in person. That's just my thing. Um, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna be 26 then, so I'm gonna have my own job. Um, so since I have access to adult money, so so that's just my three things that I want to do. When 20 the World Cup comes to the United States and Mexico and Canada. So no matter where it is, honestly, even if it's in Canada, I would love to go to Canada too. So that's just my thing that I would like to do when the World Cup does come. And yeah, so today was a little shorter session, since Chris is not here, and since there wasn't really a lot of sports going on. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. Again, my name is Mike, and this is the Chris and Leone show. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. See you guys later.